Hello to all our dear viewers of Truong and Tieu. This is Truong, and today I have a very special story to share with you. After so many days apart, I finally reunited with Tieu, the girl I love the most. Even though there are still many challenges and obstacles between us, today I was able to fulfill the promise I made when I first met her. That promise was when I see Tieu, again I'll hold her tightly, kiss her passionately, and say all the loving words I've kept in my heart for so long. That moment, there's no way to truly describe the happiness and peace I felt being by her side. If you want to know how our emotional reunion and these sweet moments unfolded, don't miss this video. Please subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to follow our love journey. Thank you all for always being by our side and supporting us. I'm standing in front of Tieu's door, dragging my suitcase, my heart racing, because I know the person I love is just behind that door. All the worries, all the waiting seem to disappear, and all that's left is the excitement of finally seeing her again, the one I've always missed. Tieu. I call gently, my voice betraying the joy I can't hide. The door opens, and immediately Tieu's eyes meet mine from afar. In that moment, everything around us seems to slow down. My smile spreads pure joy and happiness flooding me. Tieu looks at me without saying a word, but her eyes shine like stars. And then she rushes toward me, hugging me tightly. I wrap my arms around her, feeling the warmth of her body that makes me forget all the struggles. In that moment, nothing else around us matters. I kiss Tieu passionately, a kiss that says everything about the days of longing, about the ache I've carried. It's just the two of us in that tight embrace, in a love that words can't even begin to describe. It was an unforgettable moment, one I had dreamed of for so long, and now that it's real, it feels like the whole world is more beautiful than ever. When Tieu rushed into my arms, that moment wasn't just a physical hug. It was the collision of two souls that had been torn apart by the storms of time and deep mistakes. I could feel the rhythm of our hearts beating together, not just on the same frequency, but seemingly in the same life-sustaining rhythm, a weak yet powerful affirmation that we were both still here, still belonging to each other. That feeling was magical, as if an invisible force had warped reality. Time stopped the sounds of the city, the rustling wind. Everything around us became faint, leaving only a warm glow surrounding us, as if we were the only ones that existed in this small, sacred world. The familiar scent of Tieu, a hint of dried jasmine, a touch of the stillness of earth after rain rushed up, melting the cold exterior I had built over the years. My chin rested on the top of her head, my trembling hand holding her thin back, feeling her fragile shoulder blades. "I'm back." I whispered in her ear, a simple phrase that carried the weight of a long journey. My voice caught, not because of difficulty in speaking, but because of the overwhelming emotions, regret, longing, and above all, the uncontrollable happiness. Tieu looked up. Under the yellow streetlight, her eyes sparkled like they were covered in a layer of crystal. Tears were wet on her lashes, but not from sorrow, not the tears of despair I once caused. They were tears of pure happiness, of relief and reunion. She didn't say anything, just tightened her arms around me a little more. The strength wasn't in her grip, but in her unyielding will. It was a hug of protection, of confirmation. She wanted to feel to make sure I wasn't an illusion, that I had truly returned and would never let go again. In that moment, all the memories of the past flooded back, not as a gentle stream, but like a flood sweeping through my mind. The days we spent apart came into focus. Forgotten letters, calls I never dared make long, nights filled with my torment and her silent loneliness. The pain, the loss, the invisible wounds that had scarred us both. I once thought everything was shattered beyond repair. But now, in this embrace, everything had been mended, not by forgetting, but by accepting. I realized an important truth Tieu knew was no longer the girl I had once abandoned. The fragility of the past had been replaced by a mature beauty, a calm strength. She had healed herself, risen on her own. She had learned to survive without me. And most importantly, she had learned to forgive. This forgiveness wasn't something given lightly, but the result of a complex inner journey, a priceless gift she'd given me. I missed you, Tieu. I said the words coming from deep within my chest. My heart swelled with emotions that couldn't be expressed. Every word, every gesture now was not just an expression of love, but also a plea for forgiveness, for atonement for the reunion I had longed for so many days. Tieu loosened her arms a little, pulling me away, just enough to look at my face. Her eyes were still wet, but now the tears were of joy she couldn't contain, of the overwhelming release when the painful past finally closed and the bright future opened up. You really came back, she said softly, her voice weak, as if saying those words took great effort. But her eyes shone bright as the sun after the rain, a warm light that chased away all the clouds in my soul. I leaned down again, kissed her forehead, then gently pressed my lips to hers. This kiss wasn't hurried, not frantic, but a slow, deep connection. It was an unspoken vow, a confirmation of a new commitment. All the distance, all the fear of rejection, all the doubts melted away in this sweet union. We stood there in the empty street under the night sky, lost in our own world. The hug and kiss had healed the cracks of time, piecing together the broken fragments of our love. However, as the emotions calmed, the cold reality began to rise. The hug wasn't the end, but the beginning. Life isn't as easy as we'd like it to be in this magical moment. While our love had been mended, the scars still remained. Tieu's forgiveness was a gift, but trust would need to be rebuilt bit by bit, like building a house on ground that had once been shaken by an earthquake. I looked down at Tieu's hand, noticing the small calluses, the signs of the independent hard life she had lived without me. She had become self-sufficient, created her own world. Now, I was stepping into that world as a stranger returning, someone who would have to prove his worth again. Was I worthy? That question echoed in my mind. I squeezed her hand, knowing the road ahead wouldn't be smooth. The challenges before us weren't external enemies, but the ghosts of the past, the pressures from family, the financial burdens, and most importantly, the challenge of keeping the flame of trust and love alive in the harshness of reality. But when I looked into Tieu's eyes, seeing the unwavering light and love that hadn't faded, I knew I could do it. Where do we go from here, Tieu? I asked, my voice now steady. She smiled a radiant, hopeful smile. We'll move forward together. That simple answer gave me the strength to face whatever was to come. The hug ended, but the journey ahead had just begun. That simple answer, though short, gave me immense strength. I took a deep breath and pulled Tieu close again. But this time, it wasn't an overwhelming hug. It was a steady leaning on each other, like two trees that had weathered the storm, now leaning together to brace for the winds ahead. "I know," I whispered. "We can't stand here forever. I need a place to see you clearly, to tell you everything I've been preparing for all these years." Tieu nodded the weariness from the emotional moment beginning to show on her face. She took my hand, her fingers intertwining with mine. Her palm was warm, but I could feel the roughness of calluses, the marks of the days she had fought life on her own. It was a painful reminder of the price of the freedom I had given her by leaving. "Let's go to my room," she said. And though her voice was still weak, the determination in her eyes reassured me. We walked slowly down the street now, nearly asleep. The scent of late-season milk flowers lingered in the air, so familiar it made my heart tighten. In the past, we had once shared moments under these very flowers. Now, everything was the same, except for the fact that we had both changed so much. Tieu led me to a small, deep alley where the streetlight barely lit the way. She lived in a small room on the third floor of an old apartment complex. Everything was simple, worn, but astonishingly clean and tidy. When the creaky wooden door opened, a gentle scent of essential oils wafted through the air, easing the tension in my chest. The room was tiny, just enough for a single bed, a small desk, and a little bookshelf. On the walls hung several watercolor paintings, serene landscapes. I immediately recognized the style. She had continued painting something she had to give up when we were together because of life's pressures. I quietly took off my coat and hung it up. This small room, though humble, held a world I had missed. It was the most vivid proof of Tieu's growth and independence. She hadn't just survived, she had thrived. Tieu made a pot of hot green tea, the fragrance filling the air. We sat across from each other on the small bed, our feet brushing lightly, a closeness both familiar and strange. "Tell me," Tieu began, her voice surprisingly calm, as if she had been preparing for this conversation for a long time. "Where have you been? What have you done? And more importantly, what made you come back after all these years?" Her gaze wasn't judgmental or accusing. It was sincere, with a hint of curiosity. Her calmness only made me feel more guilty. I had expected a confrontation full of tears and anger, but her maturity forced me to face the truth in the rawest way. I set my cup down and took a deep breath. It was time to unravel everything. "I'm sorry, Tieu," I began, and the words felt so weak. "I'm sorry for my cowardice all those years ago. I know an apology won't erase the hurt I caused, but you need to know that not a single day has gone by that I haven't thought of you." I told her about the failures that came after I left her, the financial burden my family had placed on me, the wounded ego from not being able to protect her, from not being able to give her the life I had promised. Back then, I thought if I left, you'd have a chance to find someone better, someone who could take care of you. I thought disappearing would be the ultimate sacrifice I could make for you. I was wrong, Tieu. I took away your chance at happiness. I didn't realize that what you needed wasn't money or fame, but just me. I told her about the years I spent working tirelessly abroad, trying to fill the emptiness in my heart with work. I had succeeded, built the career I wanted, but every time I looked back, I only saw a void. All the achievements felt meaningless because I had no one to share them with. 6 months ago, I looked in the mirror and realized I was living a completely foreign life. I had everything except the most important thing, you. I decided no matter if you forgave me or not, I had to come back and face you. At the very least, I had to stand before you and say all the words of apology I've kept inside. Over an hour passed as I laid everything out, leaving no weakness or mistake hidden. When I finished, the room fell silent, only the hum of the air conditioner and the rapid beat of my heart filling the space. Tieu continued to look at me. Her eyes had softened, but there was still a deep sadness in them. She didn't cry anymore, but slowly reached out her hand. You, she said quietly, you've said everything about your part. Now I will say about mine. You were right when you said I've changed. When you left, I collapsed. I lost faith in everything. I hated you, hated myself for loving you so much. But I didn't let myself be defeated. I had to stand up. I had to learn to live without anyone's protection. I taught myself to paint again. I worked 3 jobs. At the same time, I rented this room and paid for everything myself. Her voice was stronger now, no longer the weak girl from before. My forgiveness, you know, isn't something easy. It's the result of a long inner struggle. I forgive you not because you deserve forgiveness, but because I deserve to be freed from the burden of hate. I forgive you so that I can be lighter, so I can move forward. She looked at me, her gaze firm. If you want to come back, you have to understand, trust has to be rebuilt from scratch. I'm no longer the girl who will blindly love you and accept everything. I'm strong now. I have my own life. You come back not to save me, but to prove you deserve to enter the world I've created. I love you, I admit it. But this love comes with conditions, respect, and absolute honesty. Her words were sharp, but fair, cutting through the remnants of my self-righteousness. She hadn't waited for me. She had saved herself. I understand, Tieu, I said, gripping her hand tightly. I'll accept all of your conditions. I'll spend the rest of my life making amends and rebuilding that trust. Thank you for giving me this chance. In that moment, the closeness of our souls was restored. However, just as I began to feel relief, Tieu's phone on the table suddenly buzzed, breaking the sacred atmosphere. Tieu frowned as she looked at the screen. The caller ID read, Aunt Ba. Her face briefly showed concern. It's my aunt, she whispered quickly, turning the phone off, but it was too late. A new message popped up on the lock screen. Tieu turned the screen toward me, her eyes filled with unease. The message read, Tieu, you have to remember, you can't be with him. Your mother has suffered enough. I won't allow anyone to make you suffer again. If he comes back, tell him to stay away. The shadow of the past in the form of opposition from her family had reappeared. Tieu's mother, who had suffered so much when I left, would clearly be the biggest barrier. Our relationship had caused pain not only for Tieu, but also for those close to her. This is our first test, isn't it? Tieu looked at me, a bittersweet smile on her lips. My family won't easily accept you, especially my mom and Aunt Ba. They saw me fall apart, and they'll do whatever it takes to protect me from being hurt again. I felt a surge of warmth in my chest, not out of fear, but out of determination. This time, I wouldn't back down. I understand, I affirmed, squeezing her hand tighter. I won't let you face this alone. This time, I won't run away. I've come back prepared. Financially, I'm stable. Mentally, I'm ready to face everyone. This challenge isn't just yours, it's ours. We'll go together to meet your mom. I continued, my voice firm. I won't take the easy way out. I'll face your mom and Aunt Bia head on. I'll prove to them that the coward I once was is gone. The man standing before you today is someone who has matured, someone who can take responsibility for his decisions and protect you from every storm, even the ones from the past that I caused. Tieu looked deeply into my eyes as if searching for any doubt, any hesitation, but all she found was unwavering resolve. Her smile widened, a smile filled with trust and hope. All right, she whispered. We'll move forward, together. It was late into the night. Although the big issues still loomed, the tension had been eased by honesty and determination. I reached up and gently stroked her hair. It had been so long since I felt this true peace. Peace not because all the problems had been solved, but because I had found where I truly belonged and was ready to face the world. I knew that the meeting with Tieu's mom and Aunt Ba wouldn't be easy. It would be a tough battle where I would have to overcome not just their anger, but the deep fears that had been embedded in them. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I had Tieu by my side, and that was enough. That night, we didn't sleep. We kept talking, not about the past, but about the future, about plans, simple dreams, about redecorating this little room, about the trips we had once promised. In that small, cozy room, under the yellowish light, a new beginning was quietly formed. It was fragile, vulnerable, but it was born out of maturity, forgiveness, and a love that had been tested by time and pain. Tomorrow, the battle would begin, and I was ready to fight for Tieu, for our happiness. I had come back not to give up, but to stay forever. The next morning, the first rays of sunlight streamed through the small window of the room, casting golden streaks across the floor. My restless sleep didn't bring complete rest, but Tieu's presence beside me, calm and peaceful, was the greatest source of energy. Tieu woke up and saw me watching her. She smiled a smile free from any hesitation or resentment. You're up early, she asked, her voice still heavy with sleep. I couldn't sleep, I admitted. So much to think about, so many emotions. Plus, I just wanted to watch you. I've missed too many mornings like this. After getting ready, we sat down on the freshly made bed. The fresh morning air brought a new sense of determination. I had made up my mind. I couldn't delay facing Tieu's family any longer. I called the manager in Vietnam. I said seriously, I'm going to spend this whole time here. All my work has been arranged. I've prepared mentally and financially to stay here long term, not just as a visit. And the first thing we need to do is face your mom and Aunt Bia. Tieu poured me a cup of warm water, her face tightening with concern. "I'm scared, love," she confessed. "My mom's been through so much because of us. Aunt Ba, she's always treated me like her own daughter. She's the one who took care of me when I was at my lowest. She won't go easy on you." "I know." I gently took her hand and kissed it. "And I don't expect them to go easy on me. Their anger is fair. It's their way of protecting you. I'll accept it all. I'm not just here to apologize. I'm here to show through my actions and plans for our future that I am serious." Tieu looked at me for a long time, as if reassessing my resolve. Finally, she sighed and nodded. "All right today, then. We'll go to my mom's house in the afternoon. I'll call her first. I think we should meet with her first, then face Aunt Ba after. Aunt Ba will be tougher." After Tieu made the call, the appointment was confirmed. Her mother, Mrs. Lan, agreed to meet, but her voice sounded cold with a sense of foreboding. She didn't ask many questions, just simply said, "Come over." Around 4 p.m. we stood in front of Tieu's old family house, a humble one-story building filled with so many sweet and bitter memories. The feeling was a mix of nervousness and fear, but determination outweighed everything. Tieu squeezed my hand, reassuring me, "Don't be scared, I'm here." When the door opened, I saw Mrs. Lan. Tieu's mother had aged a lot. Her hair was graying, deep wrinkles marked the corners of her eyes, and her gaze, once warm and gentle, was now cold and filled with disappointment. "Mom," Tieu said softly. Mrs. Lan nodded to Tieu, then turned her sharp gaze on me. No greeting, no friendly gestures. She simply opened the door, wide enough for us to step inside. "Come in." Her voice was dry. The house was still the same simple, but it felt quieter and emptier now. We sat down on the old wooden chairs in the living room. Mrs. Lan sat opposite, keeping as much distance as possible. "Good evening, Mrs. Lan." I spoke, trying to keep my voice as calm and respectful as I could. Mrs. Lan didn't respond, just crossed her arms and stared directly at me. "Why are you here?" She asked her question, not probing but accusatory. "You promised when you left that you'd never come back to hurt my daughter. Now you've returned. Do you think you're some kind of savior or a man seeking redemption?" Her words were like sharp needles, but I had prepared myself. I bowed my head, showing deep remorse. "I know, Mrs. Lan. You have every right to be angry with me, to not forgive me," I said, my voice low and slow. "I was wrong. My mistakes caused pain not only to Tieu, but to you and your family as well. I was cowardly. I avoided responsibility. I thought leaving would be the best thing, but I was wrong. All it did was make everything worse." I looked up at her. "I'm not here to ask for an easy forgiveness. I'm here to take responsibility. I'm here to prove that the man I was years ago has grown. I've built a stable career abroad, but I gave all of that up to come back here to be with Tieu. I've bought a small apartment nearby and saved enough money to take care of our life for years without worrying about finances." I pulled out an envelope, placing it on the table, not as a bribe, but as proof of my stability, with bank statements and documents showing my preparedness. "This is not to buy your forgiveness. I made it clear. This is to show you that I didn't come back empty-handed. I came back prepared to take care of Tieu, to never let her suffer because of me again. Mrs. Lan didn't touch the envelope, her gaze still cold. Money can't erase tears, young man. She shook her head, her voice more tired than angry. When you left, she nearly went mad. She locked herself in her room, wouldn't eat, wouldn't talk. Aunt Ba had to quit her job to care for her every day. Didn't you see her wounds aren't in her wallet, they're here? She pointed to her chest. You tore apart my daughter's heart, and now you think you can fix it with money? Tears began to well up in my eyes. Mrs. Lan's words pierced the deepest wound in my heart. I understand, Mrs. Lan. I understand more than anyone. I've been tormenting myself for all these years. I don't expect you to believe me right away. I just ask one thing. I looked directly at her, my voice pleading. Please, look at Tieu. She has forgiven me, given me a chance. I beg you, please give me the chance to prove that my love is real and that I will never make the same mistake again. If you ever make Tieu suffer again, Mrs. Lan said, her voice hardening, I won't let you off the hook. Mrs. Lan stood up and went into the kitchen. This wasn't acceptance, but it wasn't complete rejection either. She had listened. Tieu gently squeezed my hand. You did well. When we had dinner with Mrs. Lan, the atmosphere was still heavy, but she started talking to me. She asked about my job, my life abroad, but with a certain reserve. She was evaluating me little by little. After dinner, the door suddenly opened and a middle-aged woman walked in. It was Aunt Ba Tieu's older sister, the one Tieu had warned would be the toughest. Aunt Ba looked at me, her eyes instantly filled with fiery anger. Lan. Aunt Ba shouted her sister's name. Why did you let him in? Have you forgotten what he did to Tieu? Aunt Ba didn't even look at me, rushing to hug Tieu. Are you all right? Did he force you? Don't be scared. I'm here. Aunt Ba, calm down. Tieu tried to de-escalate. I invited him here. Aunt Ba looked at Tieu, disbelief in her eyes, then turned her angry gaze on me. You... Aunt Ba pointed her finger at me. Do you have the guts to come back here? Do you think you can destroy her life again? Do you have any idea how much you made her suffer? She had to take sedatives for 6 months straight. This information hit me like a knife through the heart. I didn't know Tieu had suffered that much. I'm sorry, Aunt Ba. I stood up, bowing deeply. I know I don't have the right to be here, but I ask you, please listen to me. I came back not to run away, but to face you all. I know how much you've cared for Tieu. I'm grateful to you. I just ask you to give me a chance to prove that I've changed. Aunt Ba still wasn't moved. Prove it. You think we believe you? Just by your words. You left for money, for your career. Now, you come back when you have money, and you think my daughter is some toy you can throw away and pick up again. Aunt Ba, please don't say that. Tieu spoke up, her voice trembling. I forgave him not because of his money. I forgave him because I know he's been living with regret, and he's come back. I believe in him. Tieu's words moved me deeply, almost choking me up. She had stood up to protect me in front of the one who had protected her during her darkest days. Aunt Ba looked at Tieu, her eyes filled with pain. Tieu, you're still too naive. You can't just throw yourself into the fire like this. I'm not naive anymore, Aunt Ba, Tieu replied firmly. I've grown, I know what I'm doing. He's back and I'm not letting him go again. If he makes another mistake, I'll face it with him. Please respect my decision." Tieu's strong intervention silenced Aunt Ba. She stared at me, then at Mrs. Lan, who was standing by the kitchen wall. "Lan, say something," Aunt Ba said helplessly. Mrs. Lan stepped forward, her expression a little softer, perhaps because of Tieu's determination. "All right, Ba," Mrs. Lan said. "We can say what we want, but Tieu has made her decision. She's grown up. We can't keep her forever. Besides," Mrs. Lan looked at me, her voice still cautious, "he's returned prepared. He promised he won't make my daughter suffer again." "Fine," Aunt Ba said coldly, but there seemed to be a reluctant acceptance in her voice. "I don't trust you. None of us do. But for Tieu, we'll give you one chance. The only chance. Prove it. By your actions." I sighed in relief, the weight of the situation lifting slightly. "Thank you, Aunt Ba." "Thank you, Mrs. Lan," I said, my voice sincere. "I won't disappoint you. I'll take care of Tieu with all my life." The confrontation had ended not with full acceptance, but with a strict probation. I knew I had been given a risky pass. As we left, Tieu smiled, though her hand still trembled. "We've passed the hardest hurdle, love," she said. "Not yet, Tieu," I replied, holding her tight. "This is just the beginning of a lifelong test. But I'm ready. Thank you for standing by me." And so, we began to write the next chapter of our lives, not as a fairy tale, but as a journey of rebuilding trust on a foundation of truth and a love that had been tested by time and pain.